Madison, July 18th, 2024, regular meeting. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and not to be considered a public community meeting. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Currington?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry?
Yes. Can we stand for the pledge, please? Next, we'll have the reading of our mission statement by our interim superintendent, Mr. Howard.
The mission of Trotwood-Madison City Schools is to graduate all students prepared to excel in a global society with a commitment to lifelong learning by guaranteeing a challenging curriculum facilitated by innovative and dedicated staff, community participation in state-of-the-art resources, and a stimulating atmosphere.
Item E, the adoption of the agenda. I need a motion to adopt the agenda as present.
A motion that we adopt the agenda as present.
I'll second.
Ms. Allen? Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I do have one change. Under superintendent's item, I'd like to add item G. For information this evening, this is the Stepping Stones contract agreement. It is a contract for speech therapists, nurse practitioners, and intervention specialists. I provided everyone a copy of the contract for your review. You should have a red folder. And this again is for information. This is the red folder with a contract of, a copy of the contract. Stepping Stones.
I need a motion to,
Motion to the floor.
I know, but we have change in the agenda. Okay. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Currington?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes. On to number 2, community comments. Do we have any? Ms. Allen?
I don't have any.
Item number 3 on the agenda, a presentation.
Okay, so in front of you, you should have a green folder that has the presentation on the side of it. I decided to do this because it was the end of the FY '24 year. Wanted to just give an overview of what we accomplished for year FY '24. And then along with that, I wanted to present the budgets for FY '25 in this pink booklet. So we'll talk about that in a second. So, there it goes. Okay. So the first slide is just, like I said, fiscal year 2024, our highlights, and this is for, this slide is for general fund. So our interest income was up by almost $500,000, which we're always excited about. And you'll see on another slide. Back in, before 2022, we had minimal interest. But because of the interest rates are somewhat higher, we were able to capitalize on that interest increase. Our state funding was up Our real estate taxes came in a little higher. And then the last, point on this slide is that we were able to use $4.3 million in ESSER funds. Keeping in mind that our ESSER funds are now gone, we still have some money to spend through September, but after September 2024, we will no longer have ESSER funds. Next slide, please. This is just a fiscal year-end summary. Our year-to-date revenues totaled about $41.5 million. Our expenses were $42.2 million. And if you kind of subtract that, that's about $700,000, a little bit more expenses we spent than revenues. I always talk about deficit spending. I think this year we really hunkered down on not spending or overspending or having a deficit expenditure. And so I think that was a plus, a check mark for that. Right now, our current cash is $25.6 million. This next slide just re-emphasizes what I talked about in terms of our interest. In FY '22, our interest was $117,000. We ended FY '24 with $1.1 million in interest for general fund. Next slide, please. This is our food service slide for FY '24. You can see the revenue and the expenses. And then for FY '23, you can see the revenue and expenses. They're both in line. For FY '24, the board did approve us to transfer $500,000 to the food service fund, leaving an ending funding balance of $36,245. So they can start with that, and then hopefully, we can look at it at the end of the year if those expenses are more. Then the general fund would have to supplant that. Next slide. We don't talk a lot about other funds, and this is an opportunity for me to do that. So our permanent improvement fund, our citizens voted back in 2005 two permanent improvement funds. One was 0.9 mils, and that was for technology, and the other one was 1.61 mils, and that was enabled us to fund our renovation of our central office. It funded our swimming pool. It funded all of the auditoriums in the schools, and that's the auditorium / cafeterias, and it also funded all of the fields. So what that funded was anything that the state did not provide us funding for outside of building our schools. And so we will pay that debt off in 2034. But I wanted to just show you that permanent improvement for FY '24, our revenue was $818,000, expenses was $806,000, and what we use that money for, of course, is to pay the bond repayment fund. We bought touch point time clock systems. We used a lot of the money for technology in our classrooms, our phone system upgrade, and then we had school safety upgrades. So at this point in FY '24, in that fund, we have about $1 million in that fund. And of course, as we collect the taxes, that balance will be increased, but of course, we have some expenditures that we plan to for FY '25. Next slide, thank you. Athletics. Athletics, and this is a comparison between FY '24 and '23. You can see the revenue, and you can see the expenses, and you can see for FY '24, the athletic fund will start with zero because we transferred money enough for them to be at a zero starting point. So as athletics for FY '25, whatever they raise versus whatever they expense, in June we will come back to you. And if there's a negative, the general fund then will have to supplant for that particular fund. 24, again, ESSER expenses, $3.3 million, almost $3.4 million in salaries and benefits. Purchase services, a little bit more than $500,000. We had supplies, $320,000, and anything else that didn't fit in those three categories, we spent about $15,000. So you can see the chart there that our salaries were the biggest part of ESSER expenses. If I remember correctly, we had about over 40, positions that we funded, 40 or more positions that we funded through ESSER funds. And so our total expenses for FY '24 was almost $4.3 million. Next slide. I like this slide because it shows about our real estate and the real estate, that we get from our citizens, the first half and second half for FY '24. There is a comparison against FY '23. We had an increase of $120,000 for FY '24, and the public utility side, we had $89,000 increase. And then the last two slides are just what our ending balances were for all of our funds. So I always talk about general fund. The bond retirement is to pay back our schools, and that bond retirement goes again through 2034. So that's the ending balance, and what that is we have to pay in December and June to repay that loan. Our permanent improvement that I just talked about, 006 is food service, I talked about that. The next two funds are scholarships. We give scholarships to our kids at the end of the year. One is out of our trust fund, the other one is out of 3 endowments. And the 3 endowments that we have is Shell House, Petrocelli, and La Mandola. So we're able to fund some of the scholarships through that. Fund 9, uniform supplies, we have an ending balance of $40,000 in that. Our principals fund, and that's the fund that our kids raise money, and we put that money in that fund, and then they can spend it how they want to in terms of on students and staff. 019, we received some money for, I think we put some of the money into, I think, if I remember correctly, the ovens, I think it was, for other grants. There was 0119 for other grants. The other 022, anything, a tournament, if we host a state tournament here, those monies flow through 022, but the majority of the money is unclaimed cash. If someone doesn't if somebody does not spend their check that we generated, then we have to put that money in unclaimed cash there. 034 is another fund that is a half-meal levy that our citizens are funding for us, and that is for upkeep of our school buildings. The next slide is our student activities fund. 300, I talked about is athletic. 499 is miscellaneous state grants, and then 599 is public assistance fund. And that 5953 has been sitting there since I became treasurer back in 2011. So that was a fund that was set up a long time ago, and because we have to specifically spend it on certain things, that money has just remained there. So basically, I just wanted to give you guys an overview of how we ended the year. Thank you very much. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was in front of you the book. So back in, I think when I first came in 2013, we started these budget books. And what these budget books show you is, if you look at the first couple pages, there's a letter from me. It gives you the 5-year forecast, and then it breaks out the general fund, the entire budget by the object. And when we talk about object 100 is salaries and benefits, salaries and wages, and 200 is benefits. 400 is purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay, and then the transfers and advances. So you can see what the actual was for 23, what the actual was for 24, and what the budget amount is for 25. That gives me some background or trend data to kind of make sure that we're on the right track in terms of that. The other one is we divide that budget down in functions, and our functions are different items such as 11 function 1000s are instruction. If we go all the way down to say fiscal services is 2500, so we're able to see exactly what we're spending in each area. Then I put together a slide or sheet on the comparisons of May of 2023 actual 24, and then the budget, 25, and then there's some notes underneath that. And then the other, pages are starting with the superintendent's budget, and it goes all the way through to district-wide budgeting. And, you know, when you get a time, just glance at that, because that's where things are slotted. I told the superintendent today that this is just a first, I would say a draft, but we're hoping that, everything flows well. But if it does not, if we need more money or less money, we move it around. It's called inter-budget transfers. But if we need to increase, I always think about student services, because some of those expenses are out of our control. And so a lot of times I have to, add more money into their budget, because we don't know how many, special ed children we might have to serve. And so this is just a guide. We give every principal, every department head, every secretary, every board member, the superintendent, myself, everyone has this. I use this on a daily basis. And so, of course, mine has all the tabs here, because I'm looking at everybody's budget. And so, I'm just pleased to present this, and we will then, distribute the rest of those books to the, principal and secretary. And that's all I have.
Anyone have any questions?
I think I'll look it over and then I may have them.
Okay, no problem.
I just said, I have one in reference to the principal fund.
Uh-huh.
So if there are students that may be in need of financial assistance, are we tracking to see if the money is coming from the principal fund? Kind of like some, students may need assistance with additional money for a field trip or something like that. Is that what this money can be used for?
Yeah, it just depends on what that situation is. You know, it just depends on what the situation is.
A lot of times, principals' funds are used for, incentives, you know, to provide opportunities for kids in the event, you know, like you said, we may have, but most of the time, they're used a lot of times for incentives, for field trip support, like you said. But, that's kind of what that money is for, because most of the time, that money is raised
Right.
through fundraisers. So kids, you know, participate in a variety of different fundraisers, and, you know, if we're taking kids to Kings Island and things like that, that's what those.
I have a question. What, Ms. Allen,
Okay, go ahead.
I know it's probably in here, but off the top of your head, do you know, how close were we in 2024 to what we forecasted to be in 2024?
So in terms of the revenue, we, $2 million. So the estimate was $2 million below what we actually came in at the end. And that report, Mr. Lumpkin, is in board docs,
I couldn't
under
get
the
to it.
financial report.
Y'all kicked me off the computer while I was out of town, so I couldn't get to board doc.
So that's what we went over today, yeah, so we went over that. And so keeping in mind, if you look at the 5-year forecast, we projected, almost $8 million in the red in 2028. So when that happens, that reduces that balance down at the end, so that's a good thing. So every year, and every time we present the 5-year forecast, things do change, and so we do update, the information. So the revenue did come in at, $2 million more than what we had estimated.
Thank you.
And that was because the state funding came in at $500,000. State funding came in at $500,000, interest came in at $600,000, and we reduced our expenditures by $900,000. And so if you take all three of those together, that prompted the $2 million. And so a lot of times we're not able to estimate that. I was happy that we were able to, reduce expenditures by almost $1 million. And so those are the three reasons, and that is part of your financial report, and it does state that in your financial report.
Thank you.
questions? Next, we'll move to item 4, the board report. Item A, we need approval, we need a motion to approve the treasurer's amended contract.
I motion.
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Currington,
Yes.
and Mrs. Cherry.
Yes, motion passes to approve the treasurer's amended contract. Item B, the delegate appointment for OSBA annual business meeting. This business meeting is usually held in Columbus in the month of November. All of the board members are welcome, but we do have to appoint a delegate or two. Yeah, and alternate. So, do I have any volunteers?
I'm not
I
ready.
volunteer myself.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I just don't know, but when is it in
And I was
November?
told
In November.
Terry, normally the president of the board and the vice president serve as the delegate and alternate, but if they can't do that, then that's when we make changes.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Dion's not here to, Dion's not here to say no, so there you go.
So, we would like to appoint an alternate as well.
And they had sent me a email and said we needed to do this as soon as possible because we had to send those names in. It's not until November, but for some reason OSBA needs those names immediately, so.
We just
So I
went
think
over
so it's you and Dion, right?
And we need an alternate.
You're the delegate.
And Dion's the alternate.
No, we're gonna need another alternate.
Sydney, man,
There it is.
Sydney on
Who
the
went the
one.
last time?
Yeah, she don't, but you'll be there. She'll be there next time.
I just don't know if I.
Okay. So I need it, yes.
Alternate?
I thought it was me, Deanna, and Tiffany. In the event of the
Okay.
So I need a motion to approve the appointment of the delegate for the OSBA annual business meeting.
I motion.
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Currington,
Yes.
Mr. Davis, and Mrs. Cherry.
Yes, the motion passes for the appointment of the delegates. Next, number 5, the treasurer's report.
I am asking approval for the June sixth, 2024 work session minutes, June 12th, 2024 special meeting minutes, June 20th, 2024 regular meeting minutes, and June 27th, 2024 special meeting minutes. I need a motion.
I need a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes that was stated.
I motion that we approve the minute meetings that was stated by Madam Treasurer.
Second that is stated.
It's been properly moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Currington,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
and Mrs. Cherry.
Yes, motion passes. Item B, approval of the June 2024 financial reports.
Okay, so there are 3 financial reports in front of you. We did have a finance committee meeting held prior to this meeting. Cindy Davis did attend. The 3 reports that were reviewed were the cash reconciliation report, and that has a bank statement balance of $4,567,901. And and an investment balances of $26,880,824.74. The total balance with the outstanding checks and adjustments equals $31,377,531.22. This amount does equal the meta balance. The second report is the spending plan summary, and this, keep in mind, this is through June, so this ends our FY '24 fiscal year. Monthly actuals came in at 2.9 revenues, and there was 5.1 million of expenses in June. However, fiscal year-to-date for the year was 41.5 million in revenues and 42.2 million of expenditure, leaving us with a deficit spending balance of about $713,000. And then the third report is all the checks over $1,000. There were no questions at the finance meeting about the checks. So I didn't know if anybody else had questions or not.
If there are no questions, then I need a motion to approve the June 2024 fiscal report.
A motion.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrington?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry?
Yes. Motion passes for the approval of the 2024 fiscal reports.
And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, is 6, superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I do have a few items for approval. A through F, I'm going to ask for approval individually, and then item G was the amended contract, excuse me, not amended, but the added contract that we amended the agenda with, for, that is the stepping stone, and that G, item G would just be information. Item A is the approval of the donation for the Ram Nature Virtual Academy from Bob Ross Motor Cars and the National Kidney Foundation of $250. I am asking for approval on that item this evening.
I need a motion to approve the donation for the Ram Nation Virtual Academy.
I motion.
Second, third, third.
It's been properly moved. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrington?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, the approval of the Principal General Activity Fund for the ELC, Madison Park, and Junior ROTC for the 24-25 school year. The agenda does have the attachments for each of those activity accounts with the activities that will help secure those funds for each of those individual buildings and the JROTC. I am asking for approval for that this evening.
I need a motion to approve the approval of the Principal General Activity Fund for the ELC in Madison Park and JROTC activity account.
I motion that we approve the Principal's General Activity Fund for the ELC and the Madison Park and JROTC activity account for school year 2024-2025.
I second.
It's been moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mrs. Carrington?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry?
Yes, motion passes. Item C.
I am asking for approval for item D. Item D is the approval of the, item C, I'm sorry. Approval of the Eastway Webster Street Academy agreement for the 24-25 school year. Attached is that agreement between the school district and Eastway Webster Street. And Eastway and Webster Street are two facilities that Eastway provides alternative education or traditional school for our 6th through 11th graders. And then Webster Street is a trauma-informed care school that we send students to currently at the end of, not currently, but at the end of the school year, we had 4 students that attended Webster Street Academy. So I'm asking for approval for that agreement this evening.
You said Eastway was 6 through 11.
Eastway is grades 6 through 11, yes.
How many children have we sent there?
I don't know, Ms. Mallory, do you know how many students we have at Eastway? Webster Street. Yeah, Eastway is Webster Street. So four total.
Thank you, Ms. Mallory.
I just have a quick question, Ms. Mallory. Approximately how long is the program, or how long does the students run in the program? Okay.
What's the cost?
Okay.
I guess I have one more question. Do you know the cost? Is there a
In
contract?
the contract,
For the 150.
right, per day, 150 per day.
Okay.
Yep.
I need a motion to approve the Eastway Webster Street Academy agreement for school year 2024, 2025.
I'll move.
It's been approved for the approval of, Eastway Webster Street Academy agreement for 2024, 2025 school year. Next, item D. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yeah.
Mrs. Currington,
Yes.
and Mrs. Cherry.
Yes. Motion passes, I apologize. Item D.
Thank you. Item D is the approval of the Maxim Healthcare Services Agreement for the 24-25 school year. That contract is also attached. Maxim Healthcare provides one-to-one nursing support for students with disabilities. And that contract, again, is attached to your agenda.
Okay. I need a approval to approve the Maximum Health Care Services Agreement school year for 2024, 2025. Are there any questions? I need a motion.
I motion.
I second.
It's been moved in second for the approval of Maximum Healthcare Services. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Currington,
Yes.
Mr. Davis, and Mrs. Cherry.
Yes, motion passes for the Maximum Healthcare Services Agreement. Subject E.
Item E is request for approval of the personnel agenda from 7/18. Attached to your agenda, personnel, item A1 is the recommendation for the approval of the following certified resignations. Item A2 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified workers to be used on an as-needed basis for the 2024-25 school year. A3 is recommendation for the approval of the following certified adjustments in training for the 24-25 school year. A4 is recommendation for the approval of the following certified supplementals for the 24-25 school year. A4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified supplementals for the 24-25 school year. A5 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified new hires for the 24-25 school year. So as you see those resignations, you also move down and you see that as we get resignations, we are starting to fill those holes. In B, we'll move to B. B1, recommendation for the approval of the following certified resignation for the 23-24 school year. B2, recommendation for the approval of the following classified workers to be used on an as-needed basis for the 24-25 school year. B2, recommendation for the approval of the following classified workers to be used on an as-needed basis for the 24-25 school year. B3, recommendation for the approval of the classified supplementals for the 24-25 school year. B3 continued. B4, recommendation for the approval of the following classified new hires for the 24-25 school year. C1, recommendation for the approval of the following certified resignations for the 23-24 school year. And C2, recommendation for the approval of the following two-year administrative contracts. And that concludes a very long personnel agenda. I'm asking for action on the agenda this evening. I know with us not having a meeting earlier in July, there may be some questions, and I can answer them to the best of my ability if you have any. But as normal, as we head to the end of the year and the beginning of the year, your personnel agendas do appear to be a little larger as we're trying to secure staff. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, I had a question about B2,
Okay.
on the as needed.
So what I see, those are like our event staff.
Mhm.
So those would be your workers at the football games, the ticket takers, the folks that help with not only ticket taking, but what else do they do, Mr. Smith? Ticket takers, our event staff. What kind of thing? Yeah. Zones, safety. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So those would be your as needed.
So how do you determine who goes where? Do they sign up for that? Oh. Oh, okay.
Good question. So I am asking for action for that this evening.
So I need approval for the personnel agenda. I need a motion.
I motion.
You go.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Lumpkin,
Yes.
Mr. Currington,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry.
Yes. Motion passes for item E, the approval of the personnel agenda. Next is item G, which is the stepping stones, you said this.
Right, yeah, so with the Stepping Stones contract, I provided everyone a copy of the contract. So I ask that you review that. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I asked to, I will not ask, but I will bring this to the board for approval on the next meeting. Stepping Stones is an organization that supports us with speech therapists, additional LPNs, clinic aides, and intervention specialists, especially in those areas where there's often a shortage of staffing. So Stepping Stones is the company that helps provide that support. All right. Actually, this should have been F, but G, I can come back and add that. This can stay G, and then we'll come back to F. If that's okay? Madam President.
Come back to F.
Yeah, just come back to F, because this
Okay.
is actually G,
Okay.
the contract.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So F is the upcoming calendar of events. So I provided everyone a red folder, should be sitting on your desk. If you open that folder and you make reference to the document with the A at the top of it, what I've done is put together a calendar of events heading into the beginning of the school year for the board. I wanted to make sure the board was updated with regards to all of the things that are going on in the district. We got a couple different categories. First category is the denoted dates of when we'll start communicating with the administrative staff, all staff, and families and community partners with regards to our welcome back message. The second category is the planning dates from July 22nd to 8/5, just letting you guys what's going on in the district as far as planning, as far as some additional community events as well. 8/3, the Back to School Bash, I want to make reference to that. And then on 8/5, the city of Trotwood is having the National Night Out, and we plan on having some representation there. And then the biggest category, of course, is our week before school, what we have going on here, starting on 8/2 with our new teacher orientation, 8/6 freshman orientation, 8/7 opening day convocation. We're going to have opening day on Wednesday this year, and all of this information will be shared with the staff in the next couple of days. So the staff is aware of the events going on, and we just start getting that conversation with regards to welcoming everyone back. 8/8, 8/8, 8/9. Mr. Smith and Mr. Smith's department is having the coaches convention. That starts at 6:30 with dinner and 7:30 with the program. And then all of the building open houses are also listed for you as well. All of the open houses will be on 8/8, that Thursday before the first week of school, and those are the designated times for the open houses. So I just wanted to make sure, and of course on the last page, 8/12, that's when everybody comes back. That's when we get everything kicked off. But I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of those dates. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can feel free to reach out to me. But we got a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of work being done to get ourselves ready and prepared for the school year. And this is just a quick landscape of what's going on the rest of this month and through the beginning of August.
Thank you for this update.
No problem. And that is all I have.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move to item 10, board comments. Mrs. Currington.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Howard, for all of the updates and being so attentive and
Hold
getting
on,
back.
I'm sorry.
I'll just skip the whole.
I'll skip the whole.
It's okay. 8, 7, 8.
But,
It's okay. It's all right.
I'm sorry, item 7. Follow-up items and updates, treasurer comments.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to read to the kids this morning at the Freedom Store at ELC. They gave me a nice little thank you card, and then they invited everyone to the Masquerade Gala on Friday, July 19th, from 4 to 6:30. And so it was very nice. The kids were very engaged, and it was a very good one. So that's all I had.
About how many kids was?
There was about 30 kids that I read to. She said, normally if they start at 60, she said, for some reason it's down to 30 kids. And I think today, tomorrow's the last day.
Tomorrow is,
Tomorrow's the last day. And that's all I have.
thank you, Ms. Allen. Number 9, superintendent comments.
I do just have a few comments this evening. First, I want to, just update the board with regards to the work that the staff has been doing, planning for the upcoming school year. We got, like I said previously, we got a lot of moving parts and pieces, a lot of things going on. We are anticipating having a great convocation this upcoming August. I will have an agenda, a draft of the agenda, the first meeting in August that everybody can take a look at. And then if you are able to make it, just making sure that you guys are together, seated, and we'll work through all that aspect of convocation, so everybody is aware. And then making sure we invite those community partners and those distinguished guests, making sure we're on top of that. Next, I would like to acknowledge a couple people. First, in the audience, he's back there and he's got his head down. I'd like to acknowledge our new school resource officer. Come on. You don't mind coming up and introducing yourself real quick? You was doing some policing, is what I heard. All right, good to see you. Officer Taylor is a young man that I had as a student, and we're really excited about bringing into the fold. He will be housed at the high school starting in the fall, and for I think Miss Cherry and Mr. Davis, they remember we were in kind of a bind with Trotwood Police because we lost our school resource officer, and then the entire year we went with only one, and Officer Derrick was spread very thin, and we were fortunate enough to get Officer Taylor to jump on board to support us. We're really excited about him being in the building, helping our young people. And one of the things that I really talked to Officer Derrick about, and Officer Taylor, I'm sure, is we try to get these gentlemen here not as police, but as people. We try to get our kids to get an opportunity to see them, to meet them. He won't be in his uniform all the time, but to actually develop some relationships with the police. So when or if something happens in the neighborhood or the community, they have an opportunity to help de-escalate the situation because they have developed some relationships with the kids. So we're really excited about Officer Taylor coming back to the district, helping us out. And that's a box we can check as far as getting that additional school resource officer in the building. All right.
Thank you. Say something before you don't remember me, but Officer Taylor was dispatched to my mother's home when we could not get her alarm so he was very nice because we were nervous that he was going to arrest us because he didn't know us, but you were very, very patient. So thank you so much for working that out with us.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
And welcome.
Appreciate it. The next update I have in your folder, in your red folder, if you make reference to D, it is an update with regards to Danielle Cossey, who is a teacher over at Westbrook Village, and she was featured in a national publication. And I made a copy of that publication. They asked her some questions, and she made reference to just teaching in the district and some of the challenges and some of the positive things, and how important STEM learning is to our kids and making sure our kids are exposed to STEM learning. And also found out that she is going to be awarded the Martha Jennings Teacher Award. I think she's getting awarded that today, or she got awarded today or tonight. So I wanted to make sure you guys were aware that Ms. Cossey is making Trotwood proud with regards to our educators here in the district. So that information is in your folder with regards to Ms. Cossey. We'll try to get her in front of you guys, maybe in the next meeting to acknowledge her as well. And then last but not least, if you've been watching the news or you've been awake the last couple of days, because I've seen this face plastered all over the news and in the paper, which is an outstanding thing. Mr. Justin Stone is in the building. Mr. Stone, you mind coming up? Mr. Stone has been, well, why don't you tell us about your award, Mr. Stone? I'm doing enough talking for it.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, something I have to do with the news has not come. I won District 3 Housing of the Year. There are 11 districts in the state of Ohio, something I learned through this process. And I'm in the top 11. They will announce the top 4 next season on the 27th. I'm hoping it's some great there. If that's the case, I'll be interviewed on August 9th. And that will be I want to thank everyone here.
2,600.
2,600 kids.
Give or take.
And we consistently overlook our academics, and it's kind of, I think Ms. Murdoch is the only person I show an application to, because I'm nervous. It's been like 5 essays, and I'm like, I'm a writer, but I ain't no English, you know what I'm saying? So that was some of the stuff I spoke about. I just kind of spoke about too. Speaking over that, it is what it is, but, I just want to say thank you all, to this entire district, for taking me in, treating me like family. For the most part, putting up with me, I need those brothers, really what I know. But yeah, thanks so much, Mr. Howard. Like I said, I didn't expect to speak, but, I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
And I wanna say, you know, Mr. Stone, you know, you appreciate the opportunity, but we appreciate you. You know, I think, you know, we gotta get back to what this is really about, you know, and, you know, we can be appreciated all we want from you, but that's not what this is about. This is about us supporting you and what you do on a daily basis, because without people like you and Ms. Kasi and all these other folks here, we don't make the strides that we do make, and it's important that we get folks like you in front of people so they can see that, you know, we've got some outstanding talent here, and we're all in this for the right reasons. And with that being said, Mr. Stone has committed to giving a small keynote on Convocation Day to the staff. I think it's important to get him in front of the staff and let him talk about his mission and his commitment to these kids in the district, because the most important thing he said is that he's committed to Trotwood. If we had everybody who was in that mindset, this place would really push, because I think most folks are, but making sure and reaffirming that we do have a lot of people that are doing some outstanding things, and getting one of those individuals in front of our staff the first day will, I think, will be beneficial. So thanks, Mr. Stone. I appreciate you coming. Surprise, got you. All right. And then the last thing, if you make reference to C, is just another copy of the goals and a copy of the 30, 60, 90-day plan. I'm gonna keep that in front of you guys so you can just kind of see the things that, you know, as we progress through the transition that we're really trying to focus on. Our goal right now is getting ourselves ready and staffed up for the school year. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I wanted to make sure that I keep those goals in the forefront so you can see what are those specific things that I've challenged myself as the superintendent of this district to make sure that we focus on, and how through those action steps on those 30, 60, 90-day plans, those things are happening. A lot of work, a lot of good conversation with the district leadership team. All of the admin team comes back on Monday, so we're ready to start pushing the button and getting these things going, so we can have the best year in Trotwood-Madison City Schools. Every year should be the best year. So, and lastly, on your desk also is a copy of the Masquerade Gala. This is a little end of the year celebration for our Freedom Schools over at the ELC. Starts at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. If you have a chance to stop by, just stick your head in and see what those kids have accomplished, it would be appreciated. Mrs. Bennett brought this up here to us today, so that takes place tomorrow. And that's it. I talked a lot. Mr. Stone, Ms. Kasi, we got some superstars out there, and we want to make sure we shed light on them.
So,
All right. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Now we're up at board item 10, board comments. Mrs. Currington.
Well, Mr. Howard said a lot of the stuff I wanted to say, but I also do want to take a moment just to thank Madam Treasurer and Superintendent Mr. Howard for just making sure that the transition is smooth and that we hit the ground running for the upcoming school year. I'm excited for Trotwood. I'm excited for our students. I'm excited for the staff. I just see a different energy And so I believe this is really gonna be a great year. When we have two teachers doing phenomenal things, it can only get better from here. So I'm excited for everyone, and as Mr. Stone said, I'm glad to be here, I want to be here, I love Trotwood. And so I'm just excited about the school year.
Mr. Davis.
Greetings, board, and all of our lovely taxpayers, parents, and staff. It's been a while. I only take 2 minutes instead of 3 today. Also, thank you to our law enforcement. Your presence is always needed. With a 90% plus, rating in the community, what more do we need to say for our law enforcement? And who better to protect us than our actual own who come from our community to give back to our community? So thank you for that, sir. Not everybody can put that uniform on every day to protect our civil rights or domestic rights and just overall foreign and domestic threats. So I really appreciate you being in attendance today. I'd like to also thank our officers of our union brothers and sisters. I can't thank y'all enough. It feels good to always see the voices of so many of our staff in one collective that took the time to be here today and listen to my lengthy speeches all the time. And I also enjoy just serving with you guys, serving this community. Our directors. Where could I be without you guys, whether it be our musical gifts our children have, or our spiritual gifts, or our collective gifts that they get in our group sessions and have and develop. When you guys came in this district, there was a lot of moving pieces, still is, but you guys have managed to systematically work out the kinks and cut through the fat meat and a lot of the red tape in our district that you guys seen. I'm very grateful for that. I would also like to thank our IT department. Where would we be and how nice would we look without you here to kind of capture our audio and our videography and edit it in timeless fashion. So fast to where if I have a bad day, you got me still looking good, so thank you, sir. I appreciate some of them days I've kind of went off emotionally and you still are able to keep and protect our republic and keep me somewhat sound and show that, I am human. I think the board as well has been sometimes odd or new or old that I talk to you guys in intimate moments, sometimes even in argumentative moments, but we still push to kind of get the bottom line and just figure out everything. Thank you for when they counted us out many years ago when they didn't know what these teams are so good, what division do we need to put them in? Thank you for keeping us stable during those situations where our division was somewhat unstable. You really strengthened us, and thank you for the Under Armour contract. That means a lot to me when we solidify our stability through these national endorsements. And then lastly, I'm gonna get to Ms. Kasi, who was my children's teacher over and over again. And just thank you for all of the time you put into just emailing our parents such as me and just trying to get everything going in a way to where you're getting awarded. So now you're getting your flowers now. Then we didn't forget about our science brother in the back, Mr. Stone. He was one of the first teachers I met when I got here. And he was one of the first ones that was straight up, no opaqueness, just straight optics. This is what we need, this is what I need, so I can be productive. And I just appreciate you going out your way to get those desks for our children, to even encourage us to think about allotting money in these different ways to stabilize our science department as great as it is in our high school. I'm very grateful to serve with you as well, sir. It has been a privilege if it was over tomorrow. I digress. Thank you guys, and just go Rams.
Okay. Mr. Lumpkin?
So, I think it'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Justin Stone and how long I've known him. And the one thing about Justin that's always been true is that the thing that he taught me is that it's okay to have discourse and positive conversations not agree, but come to common ground and be able to help kids in our community. We served on the board for Trotwood-Madison for years, and to be quite honest with you, I just didn't like him that much. But I grew to love him because of how passionate he was about making sure that our athletes were students first. I think a lot of times our athletic department takes hits because they feel like we promote athletics over academics. And I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions that's out about our district. One of the people who fights fiercely for our student athletes in the building and to make sure that they're ready and college ready is Justin Stone. I can remember us going to volunteer together when the tornado hit Trotwood. He was long gone. His son Chase was a student at Alter, going into his freshman year at Alter. But you could tell the impact that he had on the overall community by how many of the students and how many of the parents and families knew who he was because of his activity. So I would just like to say thank you for that and your service to Trotwood and your service to our students. And I look forward to the conversations going forward about how we put academics at the forefront, promoting that our athletes are our best students. Because one of the things that we don't understand about Trotwood-Madison athletes is that they are exceptional people and students. But they are that way because they have people like Justin Stone holding them accountable in the buildings. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is over the time that we've been gone, we lost a former student to violent crime. A former student of ours was shot by the Dayton police. So the fact that our resource officer is here is very important. And the fact that he is who he is very important as well. Because community policing should be done by people who have an understanding of who our students are, the challenges that they have, and the things that they face on a day-to-day basis. So that when a situation comes up where a kid might just need his due process, that he's given it in a proper fashion. So I appreciate the fact that we have a resource officer. The last thing that I'll say, because I don't want to be long-winded, is that I traveled this past week to Indianapolis, Indiana, and for work. I serve as the executive director for business, community business and development for J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. So Indianapolis is one of my cities. And I was at a networking event, and a University of Kentucky guy came up to me and said, "You said you're from Dayton, Ohio, and I want to show you a picture of this massive kid that just committed to play football here." And he shows me a picture of Jamil Atkins. And I said, "I know Jamil, he's a Trotwood-Madison student." But he told a story about how when Jamil visited, that he spent 2 hours with his nephew, because his nephew was crying and was afraid of Jamil because of how large he was. And he said he was just so comforting and caring to my nephew. So even in places abroad and far, they know who our students are, and they always represent us in the proper fashion. And I think that we should highlight it more. I yield my time back.
Thank you. Well, lastly, everyone has basically mentioned some of the things that I would have mentioned or how I feel. I do want to say Trotwood, we have a lot of great things that's going on, and I think Trotwood is on the move, or as the kids would say, on the up. So with that, I'm looking forward to this up and coming school year. I want to say one of the things that I've heard everyone say, the common denominator with Mr. Stone is he tells it like it is. He's straightforward, and he's just honest and straight up, and I appreciate that. I really do, and I know that the kids really, really, really respect Mr. Stone at the end of the day. And when you have teachers such as Ms. Cossey and Mr. Stone and other teachers that, are nameless at this time, who actually honestly care about our students, I mean, it shows. It really does. And so my daughter is a 2022 graduate, and it's still some things that she says about teachers who have made a great impression on her as well. So I just want to thank all of our students, all of our teachers, administrators who are preparing to make this year a great year. And I'm like Mr. Howard, every year should be great, but I'm looking forward to this year. Thank you, Ms. Treasurer Allen, for updating us with the budget report. I appreciate it. Every time you give a report, I learn something new. I'm able to connect some dots, so I do appreciate you. And after that, I don't have anything else. Which leads us to number 11, which is executive session. Okay. I need a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual per BOE policy 0166 and ORC 121.22 G1. Action may be taken.
I move.
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. Ms. Allen, would you please call it up?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Currington?
Yes.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cherry?
Yes, motion passes. Meeting adjourned, and we will enter into executive session at 6:37.